This is not Carmela. This is Carmela's younger sister, Fiamma. And Fiamma has an anger problem. We've had 13 catalysts sitting in our hangar taunting us for quite a few episodes now. And this is the PvP episode. This is Bill. Bill wants to build a Cynabal and join the Angel Cartel cause in Zarzak, but he's not making it easy on himself. This is a pretty similar fit to the Carmela standard package that's been working so well for us. Full rack of blasters in the top, afterburner. Of course, because it's a PvP fit, we've replaced the web with a scram, and then in the lows, we've got a mag stab and a damage control, and we've replaced the armor rep with a plate for buffer. Rigs are the same, 2 damage rigs. If you know the basics of PvP fitting philosophy, you might look at this and say, well, this seems like a pretty reasonable catalyst build. I mean, we'd love to have some T2 modules in here, and ideally, if our skills were better, we'd fit a 400mm plate instead of the 200mm, but to look at it, not terrible, right? Well, yes, it is terrible. This is a terrible solo PvP fit, and I'll explain why after we die. Okay, we've already got 2 hostiles in local, and there is a small Navy complex here. We're going to start off our quest for a PvP kill by looking for fights in faction warfare complexes. That's a good way to get one-on-one fights of, you know, approximately the same ship class. And we are enlisted in faction warfare. So there are plenty of Amar and Minotaur pilots in this area of space who we should be able to find in complexes. Oh, there's nobody in this one. I'm not seeing anything on D-scan. We'll carry on to Oyanata. There's a good chance these guys are docked up. We're going to be pinging D-scan constantly. D-scan is your best tool in PvP for getting good fights and avoiding terrible matchups. The number one secret of PvP is, after all, target selection. You win or lose based on what fight you choose to take. So we've built a bunch of extra T1 guns and T1 mods like damage controls and mag stabs. We already had the BPOs for the damage controls and the mag stabs, and they cost almost no materials to build. And for these light guns as well. Eagle-eyed viewers might have noticed the light ion 1 blasters sort of piling up in the hangar at Minar over the last few episodes. This is why we were building out the fits for our catalysts in advance. Okay. So, you've jumped into a gate camp. What do? There is a Hugin, which is going to immediately double web me. There's a Gnosis, which is going to be able to immediately lock me. And there's a Cynabal. All right. Are they fighting each other? It looks like they might be fighting each other. We still have Gate Cloak. No, they're all together. We're going straight for the Cynabal. We're going to die here. Oh, there's a Thrasher. We're going for the Thrasher. We're going to die here. We're going to do our best to do some damage before that happens. Burning fast. Oh, that's a spicy volley. Oh, we've got this. Come on, bring it. Oh. And the pod. And the pod. Good fight, guys. Bill's corpse is floating in space. But that was to be expected. Now, we did make one critical mistake. Nothing to do with that fight. The fight went perfectly. The mistake we made was that we forgot to set our home station to Minar before we set out to engage in PvP. So when we got potted, we teleported all the way back here to Dysa. We're going to fly our pod back to Minar, and we'll set Minar as our home station, because when you're PvPing, you want your home station to be where your reships are. So while we're flying back over to Minar, let's take a look at our kill mail and go through what happened there. This is the first time we've been caught in a gate camp this whole run, which is honestly like very surprising to me. These guys had the advantage that they were enlisted in the Amar Empire, most of them at least, which is at war with the Malachim Zealots, of whom Bill's a member, which means they didn't have to worry about gate guns. I was a legal target for them, which is a really nice thing to have on your side when you're doing a gate camp in low. Usually when you engage someone on the gates, the gate guns will start firing at you. It allows you to use smaller ships to take out militia targets. The buildup of their gate camp this is totally classic. They've got a couple of Gnosis. Only one of them got on the kill. You often see Gnosis because they have really incredible lock time for something of their size. It's not on interceptor levels, I mean, obviously, but because a Gnosis can tank the gate guns and also lock quite fast, they're really ideal tackle for a low-sec gate camp. Although in this case, because there was no gate guns to worry about, the Thrasher fleet issue actually got first lock on me and initial tackle. They had the Thrasher to lock me immediately, they had the Hugin to web me down immediately, and then the Cynabal and the Thrasher to hit me with artillery, and that's it. 2 volleys, and the Catalyst is no more. The one thing about this kill that's a bit of a shame is that though we did do what you're supposed to do, if you're gonna die, pick the person you can do the most damage to, maybe the person who's closest, and just fly at him and start shooting. We didn't really get a good sense of what it is about this fit that works or doesn't work. Basically, any Catalyst would have died there. So even though I promised that I would tell you why I think this fit is terrible after we died, instead, I'm going to jump back into the same fit and we're going to try again. Fiamma Dos, Fiamma Segunda, reporting for action. And we've set Minar to our home station now. Let's go look for some more trouble. I want to be clear that we're not just whelping these Catalysts for kicks. I mean, we are doing it partly for kicks, but also we had 13 Catalysts sitting in our hangar doing nothing for us. We're hopefully never going to lose 13 Catalysts over the course of our, PvE building a Cynabal endeavor, so we didn't need that many backups. Maybe we'll save a couple, but I was thinking about what we could do that would be productive with those 13 hulls, and by the rules of our run, if we can kill someone in PvP, then we can loot their wreck. And that is likely going to be the only way that we can get T2 modules in this whole run. In order for me to count it, I'm going to say that we have to be final blow and also top damage. It has to be functionally a solo kill. So we fit up Fiamma, and we're going and we're trying to find someone in faction warfare space that we can kill. It'll probably be a Tech 1 frigate if we succeed. And if we can loot even one wreck that has something like, say, a Tech 2 damage control on it, then that'll be huge for us. This is productive, provided that we don't just die and die and die and die and die and never kill anyone, which is, to be fair, probably the most likely outcome. But we're going to do our best. What is inside? The Thrasher and the Vigil Fleet are inside. We don't really want to go for a 2-for-1. I would like to get a 1v1. Just to, show what an actual fair-ish fight looks like. One of them leaves, we'll slide in the other one. I mean, a faction frigate or a T1 destroyer is theoretically a perfectly fair fight for another T1 destroyer. We do have several significant disadvantages, but if we're looking for fights, one of those two guys is not the kind of fight we would turn down. But both of them would just be too incautious. Or it would be suicide, really. Yeah, they're certainly together. There's only 2 actual militia people in the system. Both quite new characters, though. Yeah, both very new characters. Well, that's interesting. Oh, it's only the Thrasher left. We're going in. Vigil Fleet issue left. If we can get a one-on-one with that Thrasher, We'll take it. Let's go. Fiamma versus Thrasher. Short D scan to see if his friend's coming back. Not yet. Avon Shama. 15 kilometers away. Here comes the Visual Fleet. We're just burning straight for the Thrasher. We've been webbed by the fleet now. Yeah, we're dual web by the Vigil fleet. We're not going to catch the Thrasher. We burned out our AB. Just gonna shoot GCC on principle. Good fight, guys. That was well done. I'm actually really impressed with those two guys. If they're actually new players, that was good tactics. I'm so glad that went down that way. It gives me a really great chance to talk about why this fit is bad. Like I said at the top of the episode, if you come into this with a perspective of basic PvP fitting theory, this actually looks pretty reasonable. It ticks all the boxes. We've got DPS, we've got tank, we've got a prop mod, we've got tackle. All of our modules are sort of in line with the idea of the ship, and we're taking full advantage of our hull's bonuses. Although with the catalyst, to be fair, that basically just means we fit small hybrid guns. But what this fit doesn't have, and what those guys who killed us did have, is a plan. I landed 20 kilometers from the Thrasher. I've got to start trying to close that gap. The Thrasher is a faster ship than the Catalyst, so I'm overheating my AB, and he's probably not overheating his, so I'm catching up slowly, but very slowly. And his autocannons, with long-range ammo in them, I suspect he has barrage loaded at the start here, I was able to start, like, pinging me away, even when I'm still 20 kilometers out. I'm slowly closing that gap, and I'm trying. I've got my scram heated as well, and I'm trying to land that scram on him, but I'm sure he's AB fit. So if I did land the scram on him, that would prevent him from warping off, but it wouldn't help me get any closer any faster. So you can see I'm going to put up a DPS graph here of my catalyst fit with Bill's skills, and what I suspect my opponent's likely flying here. And I've given him, because it's a new player, I've given him the skills to fly a T2 Thrasher, but all sort of like not maxed out skills. So you can see on the graph, my DPS is higher than his in the sort of 1 kilometer and below range, maybe 1.5 kilometers. But everywhere above that, his DPS is not that much higher than mine, but enough higher that he's going to win that DPS race if he can just hold me out at 10 kilometers. Eventually I'll die. And he easily can, because he's faster than I am. So I'm already going to lose against this Thrasher. But all that's moot, because of course, cleverly, he has sent his Vigil Fleet issue friend away, I've taken the 1v1, and then his Vigil Fleet issue friend has come back. And that's where it becomes clear how little of a plan this fit has. Because even if I could deal with this Thrasher, Vigil Fleet issue has range bonus webs. So he's got two webs that reach out to 15 kilometers, 20 kilometers if he overheats them, and he can just hold me there. Slow me down to a stop and just hold me and orbit. I love the Vigil Fleet issue. It's so fun. He can just hold me with his two webs and orbit at 18 kilometers and hit me with Javelin. I can't hit him. So even though I try so hard to close that range to the Thrasher, the second the VFI lands, it's just game over. But really, it was already game over. They flew very, very well. And this shows how having more DPS, having more tank, that's not enough to win a fight. What really wins fights is control. The reason this fit is bad is because the only way it can kill anything is by sitting on top of it with blasters blaring, and it's not fit in a way that makes achieving that scenario at all likely. In order to win a solo PvP engagement against an opponent who is also looking for a fight, who also has some idea what they're doing, and who is also fit for PvP, you need to basically do three things. You need to be able to find a distance and or transversal speed, find a situation in which your DPS is going to eat through their tank faster than their DPS eats through your tank. That's really straightforward. The only way to win is to kill them faster than they kill you. With a blaster catalyst, that situation is going to be us in a 500 meter orbit. But the other part of a PvP engagement is that your opponent also is trying to get into the position where they're going to win the DPS race, and they get to move their ship and activate their modules. So you need to have a plan that involves not only winning the DPS race at a certain range against the target you've selected, but also how to stay in that situation once you achieve it, and ideally a way to get into that situation if you start from outside of it. So even if I landed on top of that Thrasher and the fight started at 500 meters and I started orbiting immediately, that Thrasher could just fly away from me and there'd be nothing I could do about it. The real limitation of the Catalyst as a solo PvP ship is its two mid slots. One of those slots you're gonna need to put a prop mod in, and the other slot you're pretty much gonna want to put a tackle mod in, and that leaves you nothing else. No room for control. For this Catalyst, the only thing that I'm actually going to be able to hold down once I've got it in that 500 meter orbit is something that has a micro warp drive. So like an Imperial Navy Slicer, something which has micro warp drive, warp disruptor, and then long range guns. If I can get on top of it with this Catalyst, if I can scram it and turn off its micro warp drive, then it's just dead. It's just dead. But in every one of those matchups where I could potentially hold someone down and win, I'm not going to be able to catch them. In order for us to actually win an engagement, we can't just go with the straightforward, okay, Catalyst, blasters, AB, scram, damage mods, a little bit of tank, we're done. That's not going to work. We're not going to kill anything. We need to come up with a plan. And what the plan looks like for a Catalyst is going to be almost entirely dependent on what we put in these two mid slots. AB scram for solo, it's just not going to cut it. But there are a few other options. Micro warp drive scram, interesting. Micro warp drive warp disruptor, also interesting. Say hello to Fiamma 3. Micro warp drive, warp disruptor, 125mm railguns loaded with thorium, optimal range within 16 kilometers. That's right, we're flying a kiting Catalyst. We've got a plan. Our plan involves staying outside of scram range against things that are AB scram fit. Basically doing to someone else more or less what was just done to us. And then a key part of that plan is that the Catalyst is not known for this. If you want to fly a Tech 1 destroyer that's micro-warp drive disruptor railguns, you fly a Cormorant, which means we've got misdirection on our side. Someone sees a catalyst on D-scan, sees that a new player is flying it, they're going to assume blasters, and when we start instead pulling out to 16 kilometers and picking them off with our railguns, they're going to be surprised. Not only might they have no way of dealing with that, it's also going to take them a few seconds to, you know, figure out what's going on, and in that time, we will be doing damage. The biggest drawback to this fit is that with everything running, the cap only lasts for a little bit less than 3 minutes. That is pretty tight, but against a Tech 1 frigate, that's enough time to kill them. There's a Navitas in the small. That is pretty sus, but we're not above taking the bait. If we slide on it, that will mean that we'll be forced to start the fight in close range. So we're going to load antimatter, just in case the fight starts at 0. If the fight does start at 0, we'll have our micro-warp drive preheated, and we'll try and pull range before they can land scram. I have a suspicion this Navitas is actually, if it is not just bait, that it might be long-range fit. I don't really know what a solo PvP Navitas fit looks like. It sounds silly, but I would not be surprised if there actually is a decent fit. People love to be tricky. Yeah, he's at 0. Oh my goodness, it's going, it's working, it's working. Stop heating the micro-warp drive. Bill got a solo kill! Bill got a solo kill! Good fight! Did he have anything? There's something in the wreck? It wasn't an empty hull? Oh my goodness! Bill is a killer! Stone cold! Oh, Tech 1 modules. So be it. So be it. I'm gonna mount this kill mail on my wall. Yes. I killed an unfit Tech 1 logistics frigate, and I am so proud of myself. You know what? I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that all the stuff that Navitas was carrying was loot that was dropped when Fiamma 2 died. I think that's my damage control one. That's my light ion blaster one. That's my afterburner and my antimatter charge. It's funny, you wouldn't believe, if you've never PvP'd in this game, how much of a rush you get as soon as the fight starts. Basically, no matter how it goes. I got a bit of a rush dying in that gate camp. I got a huge rush fighting the Thrasher and the Vigil Fleet issue, and in that fight just there, even though it turns out the guy had nothing fit, even though I didn't take a single point of damage, I was like all like full red fog mode. Let's just get this kill. And the euphoria of it has not yet worn off. Okay, we've repped up Fiamma 3. Let's go again. Let's try and get an actual fight. You may be wondering where I got these railguns from. In the previous episode, when I was flying around buying blueprints, I did take some time to pick up a few specifically PvP focused blueprints, like so. 125mm Railgun 1 blueprint, 90,000 disc. 75mm Gatling Rail 1 blueprint, 20,000 disc. Thorium Charge S blueprint, 60,000 disc. Small Hybrid Locust Coordinator 1 blueprint, 125,000 disc. Small Semiconductor Memory Cell 1 blueprint, 125,000 disc. Rinsa Sade, which is one jump from Amabake. One jump from Auga as well, which is a Mimitar faction warfare staging system frequently. I'm gonna pop over to Dahl. I think once we find a place that looks like it has a lot of opposing militia in it, we're going to try to actually bring the fight to us. I was talking about how this fit has a surprise factor. In order to maximize that surprise factor, we want the opponent to be landing on us at a range that we control, with them thinking they're going to land at 0, but actually landing at like 20, which is something that we can absolutely do if we slide into a small complex and wait there for someone to come to us. Thrasher fleet issue. That's not the fight we want. Book bill. That's interesting. A hook bill could actually be a decent fight for us. We'll have a very hard time breaking their tank. But if we can stay at like 19 kilometers, they might not be able to damage us. No, they probably still would be able to. Actually, they have a range bonus. Slicer. That's interesting. I'm guessing it's not a... Must not be a kiting slicer? Slicers frequently are microwarp drive disruptor. If it is a kiting slicer, then we in a strange way want to actually be burning towards it with antimatter. Mini bag of donuts. These guys disrupted. Okay, let's get in at 0. He's gonna be faster than us regardless. Good fight, Minnie. Not much we could do there. We had a kiting plan. He had a better kiting plan. Well, that was good. They're over fast, these Tech 1 frigate and destroyer fights. It's sort of hard to debrief in the moment and try and figure out if there's anything we could have done there. I don't think there is. He was hitting me at 20 kilometers and he's just going to do so much more DPS than I was, because I mean, he's T2 fit, he's probably got implants, he's got better skills, but we're working with a very limited set of resources here. But it's still possible for us to get kills against thinking PvP opponents, but because our opponents are likely to have that edge of the T2 modules, of the more skill points, of the possibly implants and boosters, we really need to be clever and lucky in order to get those kills. If we keep at this, we will fight someone who has guns fit, who's trying to kill us, and we will get the upper hand. I'm sure of it. The only question is, will we do it before we run out of catalysts? 3 down, 10 to go. Okay, I just noticed that there is a Heron sitting possibly AFK on the Olide gate. It's a neutral, it's not in faction warfare, so we will take gate guns. But we're gonna see if we can't pop it with Thomas. We'll align out so that we can warp off. As long as the Heron doesn't have a surprise long point, we should be fine. If he's not AFK, of course, he'll warp off or jump. Putting Thomas on the line here. We got that PvP kill. But throwing those Fiammas against the wall has got me in the mood for it.
I got a switch in my head. I go from living to dead. You got me seeing all red. Now I'm becoming a threat. I fucking heard what you said. I'll make you have some regrets. And no, I never forget. So now
Line back to the station.
shit, it needs to be paid with blood or some sort of pain. You caused a permanent stain, which has determined your fate. I've never seen so clear. I feel the end and it's near. The day of reckoning. reckoning's here, the sound of deafening fear.
Boom. Heron down. Heron down. Get off grid. Oh, it was exciting. Oh my goodness. Heart's pounding. What do you have? Tech 2 mods? Sister probes? And none of the Tech 2 mods dropped, but one Hobgoblin 2 did. Hobgoblin 2, Sister's Core Scanner probes. It's Christmas. Bill's a PvP machine now. The world will never be the same. Manar belongs to Bill Dingha Cynabal. The terror of every shore. Alright, now I'm ready to get back into Catalyst. Now I'm ready to get back into Catalyst. Really show some fools what's up. Okay, let's watch that again and I'll walk you through it. So I see a heron sitting doing nothing on a gate in Manar. Possibly AFK. Should be easy to blap, right? But there are a couple of problems. First off, because he's on a gate and he's not hostile to me, if I engage him, the gate guns are going to start shooting me. The gate guns do quite a bit of damage. They are tankable, but they would chew through Carmella in a heartbeat. So it's going to have to be Thomas. Which is higher risk, obviously, but I'm willing to take that risk. So I warp Thomas to the gate where the heron is. I chose to warp at 0 because the heron was on the gate at 0, and I wanted to align out before I started shooting so I could warp off instantly if anything went wrong. And I knew that as I aligned out, I'd be pulling range from the heron. And so I was thinking, okay, I'll align out, I'll get to 10 kilometers, I'll start shooting with antimatter, and it'll go down fast. The heron has a very small signature radius, and when I started shooting, as you see, my first couple of shots missed. That was a mistake. I started shooting at the wrong time, because as soon as I start shooting, first off, the gate gun starts shooting me, and second off, if he's not AFK, if he's just not really paying attention to his EVE Online window, once I start shooting him, a whole bunch of stuff's going to start happening, and he will notice. And he has a lot of options here. He could just jump out, he could warp away. So I really should have waited until I was in the position to be doing high damage to him with each volley before I started shooting. Small mistake, within about 2 seconds of starting shooting, 2 or 3 seconds, I'm actually doing really good damage to him. Pretty small mistakes overall. It worked out very well. He went down fast, I got off grid. Now, I was aligned to the station, but once I started shooting him, that meant I was going to get a weapons timer. So for 1 minute, I would not be able to dock or jump gates. So I opted to warp back to the station at 100 rather than 0. Still paranoid there might be a trap. So I warp at 100, I look at the kill mail, I see that there's loot that I absolutely want to grab. Now, probably the smart thing to do would have been to warp off and back, dock up, grab Angela, and come grab the loot. But I really, really wanted those sisters probes. So I warped straight back in Thomas. And as you saw, a Legion decloaked 2,000 meters off of me. Now, I don't know if the Legion and the Heron were together, if that was a trap that they were trying to set, if the Heron was bait. I don't know. And if that is the case, I don't know why the Legion didn't decloak the first time I landed and started shooting. We may never know. But regardless, there was a Legion waiting for me when I came back to get the loot. So the first thing I did was grab the loot, because I might as well. I already had the loot window open when he appeared, and I'm glad I did. I tried to warp off, because even though I was within jump range of the Stargate, I was a suspect, which means that for 15 minutes after I've shot my gun at an innocent party, if I jump into HiSec, someone who follows me or finds me in HiSec can shoot me freely. So if I jump the gate, the Legion's just going to jump after me, and I'll be in the same situation. What I'd much rather do is warp off to the station now that my weapons timer has expired. So I try and warp, and it doesn't work. It takes me more than 5 seconds to warp. He's got a 5-second decloak timer, but he lands a scram before I can get out of there. And he does a lot of damage to me real fast. So the thing that saved my hide there was that as soon as he started shooting me, I turned around and started flying back to the gate, because now he has a weapon timer. I still have suspect. If I jump through the gate and he's got friends on the other side, I'm still screwed, but he can't follow me. My micro warp drive isn't working because I'm scrammed, but I'm able to slow boat over to jump range of the gate before he's able to get that last shot in that kills me, and we're home free. Holy crap. Legion trap. Made it through the gate. Get docked up. Get docked up, Thomas. If those two guys were together, if he was sitting that hair in there as bait, that was beautiful. I cannot believe we survived that. So here we are, docked up in Olide, with 2 PvP kills under our belt, and 8 Sisters Core Scanner probes. This has been an absolutely unmitigated success. Now, Bill, I hear you saying, you didn't really get 2 PvP kills. One of those people was unarmed, and the other one was AFK. What? No. This is how PvP works in EVE, especially when you're a new player. Getting after those kills, the hard part is getting yourself in a situation to get the kill. It's seeing the opportunity, it's knowing how to go for it, and it's having the nerve to do it, and the confidence. If a new player kills an unarmed exploration frigate with a cruiser, and that's their first kill, I don't count that kill any less than I do on my PvP main when I am out soloing in a faction frigate and I kill someone who's trying to fight back. They're the same thing. They're the exact same thing. You work your way up. You start off killing unarmed haulers, then you start hunting explorers, then mission runners, and then finally, you start going after other PvP fit ships in your PvP fit ship, having the confidence and the skills to know that he thinks you're the victim, but in fact he is. You work up to that, and every single kill you get along the way is worth celebrating. If this philosophy doesn't, sit in your heart, then I don't know what I can do to convince you. If you've watched 21 episodes of Bill building these ships up from absolutely nothing, and you still don't think that it counts when he kills a Heron, or when he kills an unarmed logistics frigate in a complex, if those don't count to you, I'm not sure that I'll ever be able to reach you. But if you do make that leap of understanding, it's going to make your experience in this game so much richer. In a way, this is the whole point of this video series. Let yourself celebrate the little victories, the ones that seem trivial. Celebrate them the way you used to. Win back that sense of wonder. Don't worry, I have not forgotten those other 10 catalysts. We will be back for them. We will do more PvP, and we will get a kill against someone who's shooting back at us. But before we get to that, there will be a couple of episodes of Interlude, other content. We have a whole universe to explore.